I wanted to talk about a few things that I'm doing in my little micro prairie right now, or things that are going on. And one of them is, you've probably heard to cut back your stems but leave some of them in your prairie. And that is because you can see this kind of pithy, dusty material right here. And that is coming from this last year's stem from a small carpenter bee that's chewing out the pith of the stem and laying its eggs, her eggs in there. So they're valuable native pollinators, and this is why we like to have them. So keep your stems, this is proof. One of the things that I'm doing right now is kind of a chop and drop, so you'll see this material laying down. And so, for example, in this New England aster, and in my bee balms, and my goldenrods, and some of my taller plants, I am cutting them down right now. This is first week of May, and what that's going to do is it'll create more lateral growth, so a bushier plant, which will make it shorter in the long run and more flowers. Also, these stems that I've cut back are also potential new homes for small carpenter bees. So I can have them in new and old stems. But if you want a shorter prairie, you can do that. Chop it back a couple times. I pretty much do this before, I don't know, early June-ish, and you can cut them down multiple times. And so chop and drop, and then the dropped material is it's organic matter. It's also like free mulch, and it blocks out potential weeds and stuff in the interim. So in my micro prairie, you'll notice that I also have a couple non-natives. This is just purple sensation allium. So another thing I wanted to show you that I'm doing right now, if you'd like to introduce new plants to an existing prairie, is, so I weeded this area, and I'm introducing some new plants that are, of course, are babies. They're not going to bloom this year, and they would normally be outcompeted by the mature plants. So I've laid down some cardboard. I cut a hole in wherever I want it, at the center, for example. These are just pizza boxes, and planted my plants right in there. That'll suppress the weeds around it. It'll help me keep track of them. So now, of course, I could mulch this with grass clippings or mulch or leaves or straw, whatever you have, or you could leave it like this too. But this is how I introduce some new different species to my little micro prairie. So that's what's going on right now. There's some taller plants, some ironweed, and some sunflowers and sweet coneflower that it's in the center, so I'm just going to let it go because it kind of creates a tall focal point in the middle of the prairie. So that's basically what's going on in this little micro prairie. On May the 8th.